I can still recall the night she said she was done. There wasn't shouting, no breaking glass, no slamming doors, just a quiet sentence that tore apart 10 years of our life together. Evan, she said, voice steady but hollow, I can't do this anymore. It was a Thursday, the kind of forgettable night that tricks you into thinking life will just keep rolling on the same track. We were sitting in the living room, half watching some reality show neither of us cared about. Her fingers kept turning her wedding ring. Her tell, whenever something heavy was about to come out. My chest tightened. Do what anymore? I asked, though I already knew. This, she said simply, motioning between us. The pretending. The distance. The silence. I don't feel like we're us anymore. Her words landed softly, but they hit like soil falling over a grave. For months, I'd felt her slipping away. How she'd stop reaching for my hand when we walked. How she scrolled through her phone at dinner, nodding absently while I talked. I'd tried. Flowers on Fridays, surprise dinners, late-night talks, but I hadn't realized just how far she'd already gone. She wasn't angry. That hurt worse. Anger meant there was still passion, but she looked at me with the kind of peace that comes only after a decision's already made. I stared at the floor, panic crawling up my spine. Is there someone else? I asked softly. Her lips parted, then closed again. No, she said, after a pause just long enough to doubt. It's not about anyone else. It's about us. I don't even recognize who we are anymore. The clock ticked between us like a countdown. I wanted to fight for us, to remind her of everything we'd survived. Early mornings, the broken-down car, the tiny apartment where we built our life from nothing. But the words caught in my throat. I just sat there, watching my marriage unravel thread by thread. Finally, she stood. I think it's better if I stay with my sister for a while. That was it, the polite way of saying goodbye. No accusations, no tears, just space, disguised as time. I nodded numbly. If that's what you need. She packed that night. No suitcases, just a few essentials. Enough to make it real, but not enough to admit it. Each sound of the zipper closing felt like another piece of us splitting apart. At the door, she hesitated. You don't have to wait up, she murmured. I'll text when I get there. The door clicked shut. The silence that followed wasn't empty. It was alive, humming with everything we hadn't said. For the first time in years, I went to bed alone. Her side looked smaller somehow, like it had already begun forgetting me. I didn't sleep. Her words kept looping in my head. I don't feel like we're us. What did that even mean? Wasn't love about endurance, too? By morning, the apartment smelled like her absence. Lavender shampoo, fading perfume, ghosted warmth. I made coffee and stared at her empty mug. Around noon, my phone finally buzzed. Made it to my sister's. Don't worry. 2 sentences. That was all I got from the woman who used to write me paragraphs about her dreams. I didn't reply. I didn't know how. But later, when the ache in my chest softened into something steadier, something like clarity, I knew I couldn't let her leave without understanding what had broken. So I drove. Not fast, not desperate, just steady. 20 miles of rehearsing words that didn't sound like begging. When she opened the door, her eyes widened slightly. Surprised, not angry. Evan, I told you I needed space. I know, I said quietly, but there's something I need to tell you first. She sighed, crossing her arms. This isn't going to change anything. I met her eyes. My hand shook, but my voice didn't. 3 words. I said softly. She blinked. What? I remember us. Her brows knit together. You what? I remember us. I repeated, slower this time. Not the arguments or the distance. I remember you humming while cooking pasta. I remember how you'd wake me before night shifts just to say goodbye, even though I never remembered in the morning. I remember how we used to talk about the future, like it already belonged to us. She looked away, eyes shining but guarded. Memories don't fix what's broken, Evan. I know, I said, stepping closer, but forgetting makes it worse. And that's what we've been doing, isn't it? Forgetting the small things, replacing them with silence and pride. She said nothing. The quiet between us thickened. But this time, it wasn't the end. It was waiting. I'm not here to beg. I went on. If you want to go, I'll let you. But I need you to know something before you decide it's over. You think love's gone because it doesn't feel the same. But love isn't meant to feel new forever. It's meant to survive when it doesn't. Her lip trembled. She looked down. You make it sound so simple. It's not, I said with a faint smile. It's work. Choosing the same person even when it's hard. I stopped showing up for you, Emma. I thought being steady was enough. But you needed to feel seen. And I didn't give you that. She was quiet for a long time before whispering, You think that's all it is? No, I said. I think it's everything. But I also think it's not too late. She turned toward the window. You really believe 3 words can fix what's been breaking for years? No, I said after a pause. But they can remind you why it's worth trying again. Silence stretched. Her back was still to me, her breathing slow and uneven. Then she turned, eyes glassy. You always do this, she whispered. Say just the thing that makes it impossible to hate you. I let out a small laugh, half relief, half exhaustion. That's not my goal, I said gently. I just wanted to remind you that we're still in here somewhere. Beneath all the noise, her gaze met mine, and for the first time in months, I saw something familiar. Not love, at least not yet, but recognition. Evan, she said quietly, shaking her head. I don't know if I can just come back and pretend everything's fine. Don't pretend, I said quickly. Just come home. Not because it's easy, but because it's real. A tear slid down her cheek. You make it sound like we can just reset. I smiled faintly. We can't reset, but we can rebuild. She took a step forward, then another, until she was close enough for me to feel her warmth. Her forehead rested against my chest, shoulders trembling. For the first time in years, I wrapped my arms around her, not to hold her down, but to let her breathe. We stood there in silence while the world outside kept going, cars passing, birds calling, time moving on without us. Finally, she lifted her head and met my eyes. You remember us? She whispered. I do, I said. Do you? She hesitated. Maybe I'm starting to. Something eased inside me. Not triumph, just fragile, imperfect hope. Later, we sat on the same couch where she told me she was leaving. The air felt lighter this time. We didn't have a plan or promises, just a moment of honesty. She reached for my hand, hesitantly. Her fingers fit like they always had, a quiet reminder that some things don't vanish. They wait. I'm not saying this fixes everything, she said softly. I'm not asking it to. I replied, I just want to remember how to love you again. She smiled through her tears. Then maybe we start there. Outside, the fading sunlight poured through blinds, painting her face in gold. For the first time in months, she really looked at me, and I felt something stir again. Not the rush of new love, but the steady heartbeat of something rediscovered, something earned.